Okay. Shalom uvracha. Today we'll talk about the meaning of rain. In Gemara, in Tractat Ta'anit, in page 7, written that day of raining bigger than day of creation of the world. And also, this day more important than a day of Matan Torah, giving Torah, that we receive Torah. This day more important than, how is it in English, resurrection, when it's, how? Resurrection. It's Tchiat Mitim? Resurrection. Day of resurrection. And all kind of, they compare raining to all kind of things. And those days, and the day of raining is more important. We know that Chazal, everything that they say, it's very accurate, very exact. They measure their words and they count their letters. It's, what they say is like in physics, like in so, and the mathematics. So how they can say that? It's always no. It's not poetry that you can say, "Oh, I'm the rain for me. It's my life," or "I hate. I will die if rain will go." All kind of things. It's not a poetry. It's very exact things. And they say to us that day of raining, if you say exactly the translation, right? Not rain day, but day of raining. It's more important than anything else. Why? And it's not only in this place in Gemara. They say it in other places, like in Masechet Sanhedrin, and in Bereshit Rabbah, and a lot of places. The same idea that day of raining it's very, very important. Why? Why do they say that? In order to understand that, we have to translate day of raining in Hebrew, and then maybe it will help. גדול יום הגשמים כיום שניתנה בו תורה, או גדול יום הגשמים מיום תחיית המתים. יום הגשמים it's called, יום הגשמים. What does mean יום הגשמים? Simply, it's as it tells, day of raining. But in Hebrew, the word geshem has another meaning. It's another meaning. It's not rain, but it's a matter. Dvarim gashmiyim, chomriim. This is the meaning of a day of matter. Then it can be maybe a little bit more important, more understandable. What does it mean day of matter, of appearance of matter? Now we have to understand when this day start, when it was day when start matter, appeared matter in the world. In simple understanding, it was in first day of creation. Hashem create heaven and earth and light and water and all kind of things in this world, as the Torah described us. It's a simple way of understanding, but deep way, when we all understand that all those things that Torah describe in Bereshit, in Parasha Bereshit, all those things, they weren't physical. All of them, they were spiritual. When we read Torah, we imagine to ourselves all kinds of pictures. There is a earth, and there is a garden, and trees, and animals, and the fruits on those trees, and Adam and Eve, they walk in this street, all in this garden. All those imagination, they belong to Hollywood, or to children for children, animated cartoons. Really, what it's written in Torah about 6 days of creation, all that it wasn't physical. All that it was only spiritual. And if we imagine to ourselves that we could see or to touch a snake that was there, or a tree of knowledge, or tree of life, or to make some selfie with Adam and Eve, all that it's not true. All that it's imagination. Really, has our Rabbi said that all that was spiritual. You are not able, you couldn't touch an Adam. You couldn't taste those fruits that were there. So who they were? All those things. They were ideas. A man, it's not, Adam, it's not a man. And Eve, it's not a woman. It's an idea that afterwards, later, appears as man and woman in our physical world. But it happened much later. It happened when Hashem took Adam and Eve out of Eden. By definition, paradise, it's not something physical. All of us know that paradise, it means it's a place for soul. There are soul, and it's not some place, even it's not some place that you can get into this place. But what it is, paradise, it's spiritual. If it is spiritual, so everything that happened in paradise, it must be spiritual. It's impossible that something physical thing will be in spiritual world. So when it's Torah describe some snake, it's not physical. It's not an animal or some, but it's an angel, as we know.
It's not a man on a camel.
Again,
it's not a snake on a camel. It's
not in a camel, not in a tree, not in with legs and hands and all that. Though that Midrashim says that, but camel and everything, it's not. It wasn't physical. Now, who says that? This is the idea of Ramchal. Ramchal, he wrote Path of Truth, how you say in English? Path of Justice, right?
Just.
Of just?
Just.
Just. Path of Just. It's one of the most popular book in Judaism. It's very common, very known Rabbi, Ramchal, that lives 500 years ago approximately, and he said that in book, that this book called the Dat Tvunot. It's also a very, very popular book. Dat Tvunot is like some, I would like a wisdom of knowledge, we can say that. I don't know how it's exactly translated, but of course this book exists in English probably also. Dat Tvunot, and he right there like this. Today I will give you a lot of sources, but those sources in Hebrew because I didn't find it in English. But you should. But why I tell you these sources, because what I told you now, it's things that they are not so popular. They not so known in public. Not because it's a secret. It's not a secret. We never learn here. It's like my principle. We never learn here some hidden part of Torah. Hidden. It should be hidden. I not discover you some secrets of Torah. Never. I always try to say everything that according to Pshat, like open sources, like Gemarot, Ramchal, Maharal, Rav Kook, all kind of sources that we learn in Nigla way. But you should know that those things that I tell you now, they're not so common, they're not known. And that's why I want to give you those sources, so that if you will say that to somebody in some place, that you should know that people won't believe you. They will argue with you. They won't accept what you say. And that's why don't say those things that I tell you now without that you can prove what you're saying. Because people will say, you're crazy, or it's something like how you say it, like heretic? Heretic. It's heretic, and all kind of things like this. So if you want to quote this idea, so have it something proved. So Ramchal says that in that Tvunot, in page, it's not going by page, it goes like a paragraph, like a piskaot. It's called Kuf Chaf Hey, the Kuf Lamed Vav. From Kuf Chaf Hey, Kuf Lamed Vav. Dat Tvunot. And he says like this, and you should know that Gan Eden, like a paradise, it's a place very, very tiny, very spiritual. And there is souls now. There are souls in paradise. And Torah tells us that man was there, and he ate, and he ate the fruits that were there. But because we know that this place for souls, you have to say that those fruits also were spiritual and not physical. Like our fruits that we have in this world, but much more tiny and delicate. It's like it's more look like an air comparison to earth. And you should know that the body of a man, like of Adam, before his sin, was what we call spirit to us today. We have few levels of our personality. We have body, and also soul, and also spirit, and also in other levels like nishama, chaya, yichida, and the other levels. So what it does, what it is, our spirituality, our spirit, and what's the difference between spirit, our spirit, and our soul? Soul, it's our vital power, vitality. This is the soul. When you say save our souls, it means save our vitality, our lives, our life. But spirit, it's not vitality, it's already personality. It's what you are, like how you define yourself, how you perceive yourself. You perceive yourself like your person. Mm-hmm.
When you say soul as vitality, which word is that? Is that nefesh?
Nefesh. So our personality, our spirit, it was the body of Adam. So it means something that's not physical. The same thing, say a book that calls Maor Einaim, about Parashat Yitro, paragraph 14. He says, "V'yas la'adam v'leishto kutnot or v'yilbeshem." And you remember when Hashem he make to Adam and Eve some clothes. It is written kutnot or, some like a leather clothes. So he said those leather clothes, it was body. Then Hashem create to a man body and sent him to this world. But before, he didn't have body. His body was spiritual. ואדם קודם חיתו לא היה דבר חומרי. He didn't have anything physical.
But why is it called Adam? That sounds like Adama. It sounds very physical, very material.
Yes.
And also like dam, like blood, dam.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, Adama.
Mm-hmm.
And also, there's a pasuk like you are from.
You came from earth and you'll go back to earth. Nachon. What says Ramchal and all others, I'll give you more sources, that everything that was in paradise, everything was spiritual. Though that it's written tree, though that it's written snake, fruit, Adama, all that is spiritual. What does it mean, Adama? It's a essence of matter, idea of matter. That was Adama. It means that if you come from afar, from earth, you belong to this level of Hashem's revelation. Okay, you understand? Okay, I'll continue. Also, in a place that calls Arvei Nachal, it's in Chassidut. He says, before a sin, the spark of Sankriti didn't fall down to a matter, and because that a man didn't need a body, but he had body as an angel, and only after his sin, then he had a physical body. The same thing says Maharal. Maharal, it's one of the greatest rabbis. He lived 500 years ago, also approximately, and he is very, very one of very important in Judaism. He's like a very authority. He's like so he says something a little bit rough. How you say it in English? Like something very tough. Yeah.
Harsh.
Rough, you say? No, you didn't. Harsh. Okay. Harsh, you say?
Harsh.
Hard.
Harsh.
Harsh. Mm-hmm. Harsh. So listen, what he says. He says, how you could even think that it is physical things? How you thought about that? You are a clever man. That's what he says. Yes, he says, you have brain in your head. How you could think even that man and fruits and snake and everything that was there, all animals, they were physical. If it's written that it's in paradise, so how you could even think about that it's physical? That's what he says. And it's a little bit insulting because I thought like this when I learned first time those things. But listen what he says. He says, "Ein adam ba'olam asher lo chokhmah v'tvuna." There is no man in a world that he has a brain and he's clever that can thought that fruits of Garden of Eden, they are physical. And he says, and of course they are not. And he says again, and the same about the man and all creation, all those 6 days of creation, they weren't physical. Maral says that in a book that calls Chidushei Agadot, part 3, page 104. And if you want, I can leave you one of those there, and you'll have it. Now, after that, we'll understand all those things. So and also there is another source here. It's a Ramban. Nachmanid says that what does it mean Garden of Eden? It's a perception. It's not a place. It's a way of perception. You perceive reality in some level, and that calls Garden of Eden. And there are levels of perception. Low level it calls Gan, and higher level Eden, garden, and there is Eden. Okay, now.
Sorry, who said this?
Perception,
Yeah,
Ramban.
Way of perception.
Ramban says that in a book that calls Torat Adam, Sha'ar Agmul.
Something similar in Guide of the Perplexed.
Pardon?
Maybe something similar in the Guide of the Perplexed? No? Rambam? I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, after that we understand all that. Now we try to also to understand. So when this world became more physical, when this world became matter, and that what it calls in a story of Adam in Torah, it calls Girush Migan Eden, exile of paradise. When a man went out of Garden of Eden and he went to some place that it calls like earth, like some place that was that. This is the moment when all the world became physical. start. It's like a process. It's not in one moment everything immediately became physical, but it's start process of materialization of the reality. And then just yeah. And how this materialization start, what it happened. The beginning of this materialization was parallel, there was according the same time what written in Torah of creation of the world. We call it in physical world, it started as a Big Bang. Big Bang, what it was? It was creation of light, right? There is book of one of the greatest astronomers in our days. His name Weinberg, I think Steven Weinberg. He has he got Nobel Prize for his investigations. So he has a book that calls First 3 Minutes, and in this book he write that that in a Genesis it was creation of light. Big Bang, it was start from huge light, and that's what it's written in Torah. V'yomer Hashem v'yeh or. This is the first thing that Hashem created in the world. Light. V'yomer Hashem v'yeh or. That was Big Bang. And then it started little by little, took billions of years, that all those world became and the Torah described very, very special. All those stages of creation. The beginning it was light, and after that it was water above the sky, and below the sky, and all this explanation. You know that this is only the first explanation in all humans' culture, that someone describe stages of creation. And those stages of creation, they are exact what happened, what today said astronomy and all. In the beginning, it was like a water, and from water came life, and the fishes. And the beginning, it was in the beginning only like reptiles. It was fish and birds, and only after that became some animals. That had happened in 6 days of creation, and they said that it's in the beginning it was in 5 days of creation. Was you remember that, right? That all that it was stage until it appeared a man. All that it goes very exact with science, what science says. And all those stages, they are stages of materialization of the world. And this materialization happened even today. It's a process. Now, why it's to us important to know all that? Because it comes to show us that we have a wrong picture of how world, what it is our world. We, like in children garden, we have a childish picture that there is a world, this world, and there is spiritual world, or there is a God, and God is spiritual, of course. God is spiritual, world is physical. Hashem create this physical world, and He conduct this world all the time. This is picture is for children and or idols. In Judaism, we don't believe that there is spiritual God. Why we don't believe that God is spiritual? Because if He is spiritual, it means that physical world that He create and He conduct, but He is spiritual, and world is physical. So there is something outside of God, something that it's not God. So God is limited. Limited by what? By physical world. And that's why Chazal wanted to show us, to explain us, to teach us that this conception is wrong conception, this wrong perception. We don't believe in spiritual God. It's idols. They believe in spirituality. We believe that God is everything and above everything and include everything. So it means that there is nothing in the world except of God, outside of God. Everything is oneness. And if it is, so God is not conduct world. God, God as somebody doesn't exist. It's everything, all, and above everything. And that's why it's important to us to get rid of this childish picture that there is physical world and spiritual world. Yeah, you wanted to say something? To ask something? You? No? Okay? Okay. So, but what it is, this physical world, for what it is, what it's the purpose of physical world, by this matter, we are able to, through the gate, when to go into reality. Physical world, it's not reality. It's just one of dimensions of reality. There is physical dimension, there is spiritual dimension, but it's just dimension. God Himself, if you can say like this, there is no such a thing, Himself, because it's everything. About everything we cannot say exists or it is. It's whole. But if we can say that, we say God is not spiritual in the same level like He is not physical. He's not physical, He's not spiritual. He's above all that, and He appears in our world as a creator, as a somebody. We call Him that there is somebody, that He is master, He is owner, He is Lord of this world. But really, everything is oneness. There is not something except of God. Maharal says that in a book that calls Gvorot Hashem, in how is a perek in English? Paragraph or article?
Chapter.
Chapter 69. He says like this. ואל יעלה על הדעת שהנמצאים הם דבר זולתו. Don't even think about that everything that exists, it's something outside of God. שאם היו נחשבים דבר זולתו, and if you will think that about them as something that outside of God, אם כן, הוא יתברך חס וחלילה יחסר דבר שנמצאים זולתו. And if you think like this, so you think if there is glass and it's outside of God, God just created, God just do something with this glass, enable, create, but this thing outside of God, right? Like I have a doll, I can puppet. I move this doll, I do everything that, yes, it's true, but I'm not a doll. I'm just move this doll. So if you think that God is somebody that do something to matter, it means that this matter is outside of God. And it's impossible to say that. It's idolatry. But what we do say, that this glass, this table, and sun, and the heaven, and everything, that is aspect of God. God appears as a tree, as a cat, as a pencil, and as a moon. It's one of his revelation. It's not him, chas v'chalila, like my nose and my ears. It's not me. What it is, my ear, it's my revelation. That's how I appear. One of my aspects of myself is my ability to hear. But I am not a nose, I am not a brain or my heart. It's just one of my tools, my brain. It's not me. But by those physical things in this world, through them, I can get into spiritual world. What does it mean I can get to spiritual world? It means that I can relate to those things by their essence, not by their appearance. You understand? This is a main difference. We normally, without thinking, without learning Torah, we relate to everything by their appearance. It means you can see table, you can see whiteboard and Lord's marker, and you can see. But when you think deeply through those physical things, you discover something, some essence of all that, some idea of everything, of that thing. And that's why it's important to, this world for us is very important. We don't say, oh, it's just this physical world. We like to live only soul. That idea of Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, they have those kind of things that they say, oh, it's more important our soul than our body. We don't say that. We say that that we appreciate physical thing, matter, because for us matter, it's a gate that through matter you are able to perceive a real world of spirit and physics as oneness. So we also relate to ourselves in the same way.
So if it's oneness, all of us, we are connected. So what we do has effect
To everything.
to everything.
Yes. Like there is a law in physics, it calls law of I don't remember how it say. I think it's first law in thermodynamics. It calls that shmirat energia. It means that you're keeping energy. That's the same amount of energy. How is it? Kamut.
The
Amount. Yeah. The same amount of energy exists in the world. You cannot make that it will be something less energy in this world. You can destroy that, but by destruction you'll make this thing it still be the same energy. You can understand everything connected to everything in physical world. If you light the light, like you light the light, its affect all the world, but we have no instrument to measure it. This inflation.
I was saying also on spiritual.
Of course, it's spirituality. I mean, if we have this physical, so of course, it's spirituality, because our physical laws, they reflect spiritual laws. It's the same thing. So what we believe that ourself, us here, usually normal person, he identified himself with his appearance. It's me, it's you, it's you. But when you learn Torah, you understand that it's all oneness. Oneness that has different shades, different aspect of the same oneness. This my oneness called me, or Binyamin, or Israel. This is, understand it, and what we're sitting here, we are sitting at what it happened now here. It happened in God. It's not in some spiritual place, God. All this interaction between us, this interaction in God, but not God. There is no, it's not somebody, some God. It's all oneness and above all that. Yeah, that's it. And that's why Chazal said that this day we start from Gemara and Ta'anit. We start to say, Gadol Yom HaGshamim יותר מתחיית המתים, יותר ממתן תורה, all those good things, more. Why it's more? Because to this physical appearance, there is some, like the physical world add something to spiritual world. physical, it's why Hashem create this physical world? If He's good and complete and perfect, and why he should create something? Yeah.
Could you explain the difference between the spiritual world and the physical world?
Yes. The difference is in our perception. Really, there is no difference. It's only in perception. What we can touch, we can touch, we feel with our five senses, that we call physical world. And what we cannot perceive in our senses, for example, jealousy. We feel jealousy, but we don't. But jealousy itself, what it is, you know what it is. Everybody knows what is jealousy, but nobody see, nobody tasted jealousy. There is something spiritual. We understand there is jealousy, or joy, or happiness, or sadness. That is spiritual thing that we know it. We can feel it. We just know that it exists. So those kind of things, there are things that we don't perceive them physically, like a five senses. We or in some machines, we call it spiritual. But really, it's not exist. Not spiritual and not physical. There is no such a thing, physical world. Because in order to explain physical world, you need, you have to use spiritual ideas. There is very famous expression of Leibniz. Leibniz, he was a philosopher, German philosopher, that he lives about 300 years ago. He says, why all the world, all the atoms and all the protons, electrons, why they are not disappeared immediately in all different directions? They went out. He says, like he says, why is there something rather than nothing? Who makes that those physical laws will exist? Why atoms obey to some law? Why the atoms no dispersed in reality? There is no explanation, that there is no answer to this question in science. And you should know, I investigate this question very, very strong. I have PhD in sociology of science. And I tell you, like professionally, there is no answer to this question. Why matter is not disappeared in this moment? Usually in school, the answer to there is law, physical law. But it's you probably already pay attention that after last 120 years, they didn't discover even one physical law. No physical, no biological, no chemistry law. There is no such a thing today in modern physics, in modern science. There is no such a thing, law. There are theory of incompleteness, like Werner Heisenberg. There is theory of relativity. There are theory of evolution, but all those theories. Why? Because they understand that there is no such a thing, law. It's just explanation of some event that happened in reality. And this explanation they call law. in past in past. But today they already understand that there is no such a thing law. So it's not explanation why those atoms they not disappear. Why there is something rather than nothing. Nobody knows. And one normal explanation is only there is only one, that it's God's will. That is only explanation that can be God's will. So you cannot explain physical world without spiritual explanation. And also about spiritual, you don't know anything without physical appearance. Because how you say it, spirit? What does it mean spirit? Spirit, it means that it's some blowing, some ruach, ruchani, ruach. And geshem, it's rain. It's something that connected to physical. You can say angels, and angels have wings. You use physical things in order to explain something spiritual. So there is not that by itself and not that by itself. All its oneness with different levels of appearance, different dimensions, and that it makes us to be all one. Tov. I will leave you sources. Who knows, who wants, I can, and you can make copies.